Okay, let's talk about one of the most powerful and, for some, controversial titles in all of Christianity, Mary, Mother of God.
It's a question that goes way back, deep into history and theology. Today, we're diving into one very specific and pretty provocative answer laid out in our source text. It traces this whole idea back to an ancient clash of cultures, all happening in a single city. So, let's see how the author builds this case.
Here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with an ancient conflict, then we'll jump forward in time to a huge decisive council. From there, we'll get into the author's core argument about that event, and finally, we'll look at the bombshell connection the source makes between two very powerful female figures.
All right, so our story kicks off in the ancient, bustling, and really influential city of Ephesus, way back around the year 50 AD.
So right off the bat, the source text points us to two really key moments in this one city. First, you've got the Apostle Paul showing up and the major conflict his preaching stirred up. And then, bam, a major church council happens in that exact same city, but almost 400 years later. You got to remember that time gap. It's absolutely central to the argument we're about to explore.
Now, to really get what happened, you have to understand Ephesus. This wasn't just any city. It was the world headquarters, basically, for the worship of the virgin goddess Diana. Her temple was massive, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was a magnet for pilgrims and, you guessed it, a ton of money. The whole city's economy and identity were wrapped up in this goddess.
And right into the middle of all of this walks the Apostle Paul, preaching a message that completely undermines all of that. According to our source, a local silversmith named Demetrius, whose whole livelihood was crafting and selling silver shrines of Diana, saw Paul's new faith as a direct threat, not just to his beliefs, but to his wallet and the city's entire business model.
And the reaction was, well, explosive. Demetrius whipped up a mob, and the text describes this massive riot erupting. People were just shouting this phrase, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians," over and over for hours. They nearly lynched the Apostle Paul. It just goes to show you how deep the devotion to Diana ran in that city's DNA.
Okay, now we're going to hit the fast-forward button. We're staying in the very same city, Ephesus, but we've jumped ahead nearly 400 years.
A lot has changed. Christianity is no longer a small, persecuted movement. It's now the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. But a totally new kind of conflict is brewing, and our source argues that the city's old identity is about to make a major comeback.
This time, the debate centered on a single Greek word, Theotokos. It literally translates to God-bearer, or the one who gave birth to God. And the big question on the table was this: is it okay to call Mary, the mother of Jesus, the Theotokos?
So here's how the two sides stacked up. You had a prominent church leader, Nestorius, who argued no way. He said Mary should be called Christotokos, the bearer of the human Christ, not the divine God. But the council, in the end, sided against him. They made it official. Mary is Theotokos, the God-bearer.
So why? Why did they make that call? Well, this is where our source text makes its first really big claim. It argues that this decision wasn't just about theology. No, it was a strategic move to satisfy the local people of Ephesus, a population that was, for centuries, used to worshiping a powerful virgin goddess.
And that leads us right to the heart of the author's entire argument. The source doesn't see this decision as a moment of clarity for the faith. It sees it as a huge compromise, what it calls a loss of first love.
The author points to this verse, which, interestingly, comes from a letter written specifically to the church in Ephesus in the book of Revelation. They read this as a kind of divine prophecy, a condemnation of what the council would do centuries later. That first love, in their view, was supposed to be pure devotion to Jesus and Jesus alone.
So, let's be crystal clear about the author's point here. They are arguing that the Council of Ephesus in 431 AD is the exact moment the Christian church lost its way. This is where they say pagan ideas started bleeding into pure Christian doctrine.
And the author gets really specific about what this corruption looked like. They claim it was a deliberate strategy, a mixing of the sacred with the profane, all designed to make Christianity more appealing to the pagan masses. The goal? To get more followers, make more money, and, in the author's words, sell a false hope of salvation.
And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the most direct and controversial claim in the entire text, the explicit line it draws from the ancient goddess Diana straight to the Christian figure of Mary.
The argument here isn't just about some subtle cultural influence. No, the author paints this as a full-on replacement. They claim that the powerful Virgin Diana, whose cult was challenged by Paul, was basically resurrected by the church hundreds of years later, just with a new name, Mary, the Theotokos.
And the text does not mince words. I mean, this quote puts the author's conclusion right out there. It frames the veneration of Mary that exploded after the Council of Ephesus as nothing more than a continuation of the old pagan worship of Diana.
You can see here how the author lines it all up. They're drawing these direct parallels. You have a revered virgin figure in both cases. You have the city of Ephesus as the key location for both. And you have an economic motive. From selling silver shrines back in the day to what the source claims is a new system for attracting followers and money.
So if we boil this whole thing down to one sentence, the argument we've just walked through is this. The author claims that a powerful pre-existing pagan culture in the city of Ephesus directly pressured a major Christian council into making a theological choice that, in their view, fundamentally corrupted the faith.
And that really leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond this specific story, right? How much does the world around a belief system end up shaping the belief system itself? It's a pretty fascinating question to think about, that blurry, complicated line between culture and religion. Thanks for watching.